world currency.
The New World Order.
Those are the roots of trouble.
I imagine that right now you're feeling a bit like Alice, tumbling down the rabbit hole. Let me tell you why you're here. You're here because you know something. What you know you can't explain, but you feel it. You felt it your entire life. That there's something wrong with the world. You don't know what it is, but it's there, like a splinter in your mind, driving you mad. It is this feeling that has brought you to me. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. All I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed. But I am asking your help in the tremendous task of informing and alerting the American people.
And now, welcome to another episode of Down the Rabbit Hole. Here's your host from federaljack.com. It's Popeye.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another live edition. It is April 17th, 2014. Tonight's live edition, I'm going to be getting into a few different topics, going over a few things, ranting about a few things, hopefully explaining some stuff to you, helping you better understand people. And I think I'm going to do it in hour 2 is when I'll get into the I'm going to get into PTS tonight. I'm going to go down that rabbit hole, explain to you guys a little bit. Maybe you don't understand what it is, or you've heard what it is in blogs or blog posts. Nothing pisses me off more than when I see somebody talking about what PTS is, and I don't like to use the D on it, and I'll explain that later, but nothing pisses me off more when somebody thinks that they know what they're talking about, and they don't have a frigging clue. Okay? It really irritates me, especially with this subject. So, hour 2, I'm getting into it. I have to kind of prep myself a little bit for it because there's no show prep for that. It's sharing stuff with you on an emotional level so you understand. I'm trying to use myself as an example to help bridge the gap a little bit. So we'll get into that into hour 2. But hour 1, I want to get into a couple different topics. But first, I have to let everybody know I'll be shooting a video and throwing it up on YouTube because I'm sure I probably won't get it back right away. But my Facebook account, not the FedJack fan page, but the Popeye Federal Jack Facebook account. I actually had an account for, the radio show, separate from Federal Jack. Wasn't a fan page because I could have made a fan page, but then I wouldn't be able to interact with you people. You can't send messages, you can't comment and stuff. Back in the day, fan pages, you used to be able to do that. You used to be able to comment and like and do other things as a fan page. But if you log into your fan page now and try that, you can't go on someone else's page and comment on something or like something. You just can't do it. So I had to make a choice. When I started the page for the account, I said, the reason I was doing it was to be able to actually track down other activists, authors, researchers, people I would like to get on. Facebook is very useful for getting in touch with guests and lining them up and spreading the message. So I decided to make an account. And of course, I'm not going to use my real name. I don't use my real name for radio. In fact, my real name is not attached to Federal Jack or the radio show or anything for various reasons. One of them including identity theft, because it would be very easy for somebody to figure out what my real name was and stuff and possibly steal my identity. I've had it happen before. I've already been a victim of identity theft, not related to this, but I've been a victim of identity theft. So I'm very, very skeptical about putting my information in any sort of database or anything like that. So when I signed up, obviously I signed up under Popeye, and then of course they want you to have a last name, so I couldn't put of Federal Jack, so I put Federal Jack. So it was Popeye Federal Jack, and for years it's been like that. Well, suddenly today I got blocked by Facebook because they said that you're not allowed to use fake names, and my account is a fake account. And the only way to prove that I'm not fake or that I'm real is for me to submit a government-issued ID or a copy of a bill with my name, my full address, and everything on it to them. Now, they said, of course, you could blur out any account numbers and stuff, but we need to see that it's real with your real name, your physical address, your location, and everything else on it. No, you don't. I refuse to attach any of that information to the radio show for a few specific reasons. The government tracking you. Not that they probably don't know already who I am, but why make their job much easier? Plus, lower level D-bag trolls. Okay? So I know a lot of people that are in this, and they're like, oh, it's smart that you use a nickname or whatnot. By the way, just for the record, more people, more physical people on this planet literally know who I am by my name, Popeye, than my legal slave name. Okay? It's the truth. Most people in my personal life call me Popeye. If my wife were here, she would attest to this. I'm not kidding. Everybody calls me Popeye, whether it's on the radio, whether it's dealing with activists, whether it's in my personal life. 99% of the people I know do not call me by my first name. Many people don't even know my real first, legal slave name or my full slave name. I don't use that. I'm not being facetious. I'm not being like, it's like some of these activists that run around, man, that's my slave name. Now I'm whatever. No, I literally, if you understand what your name is, it's a straw man. Anyway, I've gone into it. The point is, I don't use that. I've always gone by Popeye. More people know me by that. And when I got into radio, that's what I decided to use. Okay, so I know where it came from. This isn't a grand conspiracy to attack me by the government or Facebook. They usually leave it up to their little D-bag users, just like YouTube does. That's why they give users on some of these social networks way too much power, because then they start to attack each other and troll each other and close accounts. And I have a good idea what happened. I was brought into a thread yesterday discussing geoengineering, and when I came into the thread, I was like, wow, there's a lot of ignorance in here. Try to, state facts without using logical fallacies and stuff to, debate each other and fight. And then the non-geoengineering people, the people that thought it's all crazy, kooky conspiracy theorists, proceeded to attack me. And the reason why I say I think it's that thread, because one of the people in that thread made a comment to me that they said, nice fake profile name, because they didn't like the fact that I was schooling them without yelling, without screaming, with logic, and they couldn't handle it. So they got mad, and I think they went and reported my account to Facebook, because it was the only person that would, why would you report my account as fake? I've never had that issue before, ever. Facebook wouldn't randomly just do that. Usually that comes about from somebody reporting you as abusing community guidelines or their standards or whatnot. Same thing on YouTube, same thing. You breathe in the wrong direction and you make somebody angry and they don't like what you have to say, then they go, well, you know what? I'm going to report you to Facebook. I'll get your account deleted. What do you think about that? Screw you. And Facebook, rather than say, hey, well, there's a process. No, if you get a complaint, they automatically attack your account, and then they go look at it, and they go, oh, well, his name's Popeye Federal Jack. Well, that can't be a real name. What if that was my real legal name? Well, you'd have to prove it. See, that's what they want. They want me to send them ID. They want me to give them my legal address, and they want me to give them my real name and my date of birth. Sorry, that's enough information to steal my identity. I don't put my name in databases, for one. Okay, I don't like having my name in databases. I don't like having my info in databases, and I refuse to give out any personal info. I mean, this is an argument I have with people every day. Many of you out there don't care. Oh, I don't care. I'm all over the place. Wait till you've had your identity stolen. Wait till you've had to really deal with that in real life and walk around with an affidavit in your pocket. proving that you're an identity theft victim, and you have to deal with that. Ask anybody that's had to go through it. They'll tell you it ain't fun. So I don't play that game, okay? I don't play that game. Well, Facebook, right now, they don't even want to deal with me because I messaged them and I said, look, this is done in error. I sent them this whole, not a screaming, yelling, this is BS, all caps, none of that crap. Very professional, very to whom it may concern, all professional. Please, please take the time to reevaluate, blah, blah, blah. This decision is made in error. And I'm not going to send, and then I explained why I'm not going to send them ID and everything else. And I explained it in full detail. And within 10 minutes, I got a reply back from Facebook that said, nope, either we refuse to even help you unless you send an ID to us. So they won't even take it to the level of like really speaking with me and dealing with me until I upload an ID to them. So I won't do it. I'm not going to do it. And I sent them another message back because it's an ongoing process. There's an appeal thing, and I appealed it, and I put in a whole long thing, and I explained about identity theft and everything else. I mean, I know for a fact when my identity was stolen, a while ago, I know where it came from. It was taken out of a government database by a government employee who had access to it because that was their job. Most identity, you know where most identity theft comes from? It doesn't come from hackers stealing your crap. LifeLock and all these other crappy protection services can't stop you. Can't stop your identity from being stolen when the person stealing it works at the court, or works at the VA, or works at the Social Security Administration. They just call it a court clerk down here in Broward not too long ago. A court clerk selling people's identities. You see, they have access through the court system. Okay, Broward County court system here in Florida, Broward County, Miami-Dade, Palm Beach, any of these counties, they all have if say they get you someone that works, in this instance it was Broward here in South Florida, one of these court clerks had access to the information, and they were taking the info out and selling it. They were going through, and they were, however, their little process of figuring out who to grab, I don't know what it was, but they were going through, and they would grab, all they need is your name, your social security number, and your date of birth. If they have your address, that's good too. And all that information is on your driver's license. It's there in a database. The government wants to database everything, and they tell you it's so secure. Yet government employees are the ones that are routinely caught stealing your information and selling it. That's how your identity gets stolen. Your identity, it can still get stolen if you leave receipts all over the place, which that can happen. I don't ever do that. If I have a receipt, I instantly shred it when I go home. So there's no paper trail, none of that. So how did my stuff get stolen? If I go through all those procedures, I know how it got stolen because there's government databases. They even told me that when my ID got stolen, and I had to deal with the accountant, and I had to deal with the IRS and everything else. They even told me it was probably taken out of a government database, and then they showed me all these different articles of court clerks and everybody else all over the country getting arrested. People from the VA, people from the Social Security Administration. If your stuff is in a database, don't believe the government. Well, it's secure. Well, yeah, it might be secure from an outside hack, but what about the D-bag that works there that you're paying $10 an hour and maybe is unhappy with their work, and they feel that they work, a 50-hour work week or a 60-hour work week, and they're unappreciated by their boss. They're underappreciated, whatever you want to call it. And they get mad. They decide to start making a little money on the side, and they start stealing identities. This is how it happens. This isn't a conspiracy theory. This is actually how it happens. So no, I won't give my stuff to Facebook. So long story short, I think that I won't be getting that Facebook account back, which kind of sucks because I was an admin through that account on about 50 different huge activist pages, like 200 different groups, and I had almost 2,000 friends on there, which doesn't sound like a lot on Facebook, but those friends weren't just random people. Out of those 2,000 friends, I would say probably 1,500 of them were, hardcore listeners / other activists. Some of them that you can't get, like I can't reconnect with another Facebook. I have a backup Facebook account, but I can't reconnect with a lot of these people because their lists are full and Facebook has that limit. So by doing what they did, they really neutered my ability on Facebook to spread information and everything else. And that was a major way that I spread info, was Facebook. Now, doesn't mean it's the only way I got it out, like social media network wise. I have Twitter, I have a backup Facebook account, I still have the fan page, but that doesn't the account that they took out was like the main account that was connected to all. It was how when someone had a problem, I was able to help them and make the stuff go viral for them. Renee Petro's story with her son Brandon, or Sierra Riddle and Landon. Or the other Canon moms I'm going to interview. How was I able to get them all over the place and get people all over the world very quickly? Not besides the radio and besides Federal Jack, but Facebook is somewhat still a useful tool, even though they've destroyed the reach on it. And this is just pushing me to look elsewhere, honestly. I'm going to start looking at other – I already have Twitter. I have almost 10,000 followers on my one Twitter account and 2,000 on the other. So, I have almost the same amount of followers on the one Twitter account that we have on the fan page. And I know when I tweet something out on Twitter, all those 10,000 people see what I tweet out, as opposed to 100 people on Facebook will see it because they block it because of their algorithms. So to me, Facebook is starting to go the way of the dodo bird, and I'm going to start looking elsewhere for social networking. I don't use social networking on a personal level. I don't have a personal Facebook account. I don't have any of that. I do this to spread information, and Facebook was, honestly, an easy way for me to get in touch with other activists and get in touch with guests through their Facebook account. Look them up on Facebook. Usually you look somebody up. They don't have, they might not have an account with something else, but they have one with Facebook. So I do have a backup account. You can look it up. It's Popeye DTRH, Popeye DTRH on Facebook. Go ahead and friend me if you're listening. Send me a friend request, whatever. If you're a friend of the old account, a listener, a follower of the old account. And yeah, I'll work on building this one up, but that's not the point. The point is I now do not have access to probably be about, literally, I would say probably about between 40 and 50 different fan pages that I had access to. And it's going to be, how hard it is going to be for me to track down. Some of them I was added to years ago. Now I got to go track down somebody that manages one of these other admins that can add me back. That takes time. There's only 24 hours in a day. That could take me 3 or 4 hours just to track everybody down and send messages and friend requests to them. By the way, if you're not friends with somebody, you can't send them messages now on Facebook. So, because I tried today, there's a lot of people that I couldn't message and say, hey, my account was closed. Some people, they said, hey, what happened, dude? I've been trying to get to your page to see what you posted, and it's like gone. It's not even coming up. No, it's not. They disabled my account, and I don't know if I'm going to get it back. I'm trying, but I don't know if I'm going to get it back. So let's see if anybody posts a YouTube video about this. I know I'll be shooting my own YouTube video and throwing it up, but let's see if the activist community, I'm doing air quotes, gets behind me and rallies behind Popeye. I'm being sarcastic when I say that because I doubt it. Because never once when I've been attacked, never once. I've had 5 YouTube channels shut down, made videos about it, never once saw the activist community get all riled and kerfluffled about it, and no one ever bothered to call me for an interview or bring me on their radio show about it. Nope. Always dealt with it my own way. So I'm being a little sarcastic when I say it because sometimes some of these people, they have a YouTube channel shut down or something like this happens, and they want the entire alternative media community to stop everything they're doing and get behind them. And in some cases, they do. So it's very cliquey. I know how it works. I don't care. I'm not part of the clique because I don't glad hand everybody and blow everybody, and I don't really care. That's not my gig. The point is, everybody should stick together when things happen. They shouldn't be selective about the activists that they back up. And I've noticed that, I've gotten my YouTube channel shut down before. This isn't the first Facebook account I've had closed. And I usually don't see a huge outpouring or rallying behind of anybody. So it's not really a big deal. I'm used to it, so I'll handle it on my own. YouTube video will be out explaining later on tonight, after the show, obviously, what's going on. And if the backup account and, maybe any future plans I have, I really don't know at this point. I don't know what other outlets, what other, what do you call it, social media networks I'm going to look into. People have to understand, too, when you do this stuff and you open up an account, first of all, it takes time to open one of these accounts and set it up and put avatar pictures up and a description and everything. It takes time. It's not done in 5 minutes. Okay? Oh, I could do that in 5 minutes, Popeye. Then go ahead and do it, genius, because that's not how fast it works. So it takes time. And then I got to look into these other accounts and see how effective they are. So literally, when something like this happens, it puts me behind the 8 ball by 3 or 4 days because now I have to take time off of what I'm doing. Remember, I don't have a crew. I'm not whining to you. I'm just explaining all this to you. I don't have a crew. I don't have someone that comes in and, Popeye, I'll cut your videos up and I'll do this, and Popeye, I'll do this, and I'll get your... No, I do everything on my own. From the show, video editing, graphic design, lining up guests, the interviews, my audio editing, anything. I don't have a crew. I don't have a crew of people. I say we a lot when I say Federal Jack because I have a couple of guys that work on the back end for IT, and do IT stuff, and I don't like to single them out, and I don't want it to sound like, oh, it's all about me. But in reality, I'm my own crew. So something like this really puts me behind the 8 ball because today I had a lot of work to do and I had to spend good 2.5 hours arguing with Facebook back and forth and trying to figure out what I was going to do, getting the other, my backup account, getting on there and then telling everybody that I could have access on that, what was going on, and trying to reach out to people. This takes a lot of time. It really does. So it's kind of annoying that this happens and they block you. But whatever. It is what it is. I mean, like I said, I'm used to it. I've had so many frigging accounts closed over the years. This isn't our first Facebook account closed either. The page that preceded the FedJack fan page, the original federaljack.com, it was federaljack.com was the name of the page. Yeah, that got shut down. I don't remember what we posted, something that pissed them off. Somebody whined, oh, it's terms of service, and they closed it. And this was years ago. It was even more draconian years ago. It was even worse. But Facebook makes it very difficult to get in touch with them. There's no really direct way to contact them. And if you don't email them a picture, they don't want to deal with you. I just dealt with it. They literally don't want to deal with you. So, unfortunately, the reason I've stayed there for so long, people always ask why. Well, it's like YouTube. That's where the fight is. Back in the purge of 2008, 2009, a lot of people left YouTube and said, screw this, I'm going to go to Vimeo or Dailymotion. Well, that's all well and good, but you don't have the reach. Go on Alexa.com and compare YouTube to Vimeo and Dailymotion for their site stats. You tell me where you think the battle's at worldwide, ladies and gentlemen, for people's intellect, for their knowledge. I don't come on air to try to blow smoke up people's butts and do this for entertainment and I get paid. I do this for free. I volunteer a lot of time. I'm not going to volunteer all that time to reach 2 people on a website that's not as effective as YouTube or something else. I'm sorry. That'd be stupid of me. So no, I'm not just going to pack my bags and run from YouTube, or I'm not even happy about packing my bags and have the Facebook thing. I'm not pissed. I'm not happy about it. I'm pissed because that's where the fight really is. It's on YouTube. It's on Facebook. That's why people. I mean, case in point. Why do you think that the person probably complained about me? Because we were in a thread trying to have a debate about geoengineering, and of course, their only response was, "Oh, you're those chemtard people." The chemtards. You've been disproven already, but you're chemtards. Logical fallacies. And by the way, that's what I was pointing out. I wasn't even yelling or screaming. I was just pointing out that wasn't a real debate, and I kept posting links to videos about ad hominem attacks and other logical fallacies, and I guess it pissed them off because I made them look stupid. Made them look ignorant because their responses were all childish. Name-calling and everything else. Can't even have a debate anymore. Anyway, Facebook and YouTube and all these other, the bigger name ones, I know there's a lot of small ones, and I really wish a new version of Facebook or something would come out that would be popular. But, I mean, you could wish in one hand and crap in the other and tell me which one weighs more. So, how many times have I said on air for years, we need a new version of YouTube? From what I understand, Yahoo is supposedly making it. We'll see. But look up YouTube's world rank. And tell me if you think when people get censored from YouTube, if they should continue to try to make new channels and fight like many of these YouTube people have over the years. And I remember back in the day when there was channels like Nuff Respect and all these other guys around. They're gone. Those were the big channels that were in it with me and Change the Channel and all these other guys. Like, Ken Webb, he knows. This goes back to like the 2006, 2007 era of YouTube when it was completely different. And activism on YouTube was completely different. We had way more reach. But why do you stay there, Popeye? Google owns it. Go to Dailymotion or Vimeo. Again, go to Alexa.com and compare Dailymotion, Vimeo, and YouTube for their reach worldwide. And you tell me what you think the fight is. Look at Facebook. I don't like Mark Zuckerberg, and I certainly don't like Facebook or any of their data mining or anything. I know what they're for. I get it. But that's where the fight is. I don't go there and put up pictures of me. I put up links, videos, and all this other stuff. Once in a while, I'll post a picture of Snoring Dog because she's adorable and you all love her. But I don't have a personal account. That's for the radio show. That's where the fight is, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, how effective would I be if I decided to go where the fight isn't? Yes, I'm going to preach to the same 3 people that already know what I'm talking about. Rah! No, I want to preach to the people that are calling me names and throwing bottles of beer at me. Sometimes I feel like I'm the Jeff Healey band in the movie Roadhouse when they're in the cage and they're throwing the beers at them and the glass is all breaking against the fence and they're sitting there still playing. But you know what? It's worth it because that's where the damn fight is. The fight is on Facebook or YouTube. It really is. I mean, what am I supposed to do? Let's have a meeting with 5 or 6 people, or put up a video, and putting up a video on Vimeo or Dailymotion or something like that is like having a meeting with 5 or 6 people in a small room about the same thing that they already know about. And we all just keep reiterating what we already know. Am I really affecting any change, or am I just having a circle jerk? Right. So I will stay where the fight is, even though I hate it and I'm being censored and it pisses me off. I have to stay where the fight is, or else I won't be effective. We're going to break. We'll be right back. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. So, what am I going to get into now? What topic am I going to get into? Well, there's 2 things I want to cover now. I've moved on. I already went over the censorship and everything else. I ranted on it, so that's done. I got that out of my system. Goose Fraba. Breathe, Popeye. Breathe before you go and have an apoplectic fit. No, I'm very calm. I went and did about an hour and a half of physical therapy today over at the gym. So I got a chance to work out some aggression there. So I feel better. But yeah. Anyway, moving on. 2 things I want to cover really quick. I mean, we can get into a litany of things. I actually have a ton of things I want to get into here, more than 2. Including Harry Reid. But first and foremost, one thing I want to cover right off the bat is something that CNN was putting out there. I saw the Young Turks doing videos about it, USA Today, all these other people. They picked it up from USA Today and ran with it. And now it's out there, and of course it's the anti-Russian. We gotta push that message because that's what's happening, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, Russia's being demonized. We've gone back to the late 70s, early 80s. I feel like I'm a kid again. I feel like I'm 5 years old, and Russia's the bad guy, and shelter in place under your desk. That nuke, when it goes off, it'll take everything out. Except that desk is magical. It'll save you. So, climb under your desk. Do it. Climb under there. That'll save you. Anyway, that's the mentality that they have going on. So, in the Ukraine, and this is what the USA Today ran with it, there's a flyer going around that says Jews need to register in the Ukraine. I'm sure you've seen the story. CNN was, oh my God. John Kerry was, of course, it made it to Capitol Hill. John Kerry's like, this is despicable and disgusting and blah, blah, blah. It's not real. The printout is real. It physically exists. So the existence of it is real. The physical existence is real. But it wasn't a real document, a document issued by the government. It was a document that was obviously put out there by somebody that's trying to stir unrest. Convenient that it happens right around the time that suddenly Russia, the Ukraine, and Europe and the US have all decided that they don't want to escalate tensions any further because, oh my God, maybe perhaps World War III could actually occur. But that's not the article that I saw, or the articles I saw about it were, oh my God, has World War III begun? Jews are being asked to register themselves. Oh my God, it's just like the Nazis. Because remember, that's what the mainstream media and the powers that shouldn't be are trying to push, that Putin is the new Hitler. Let's get something straight. If anybody is the new Hitler or the Nazis, it is the United States. We're the ones invading everybody's country, trying to push quote-unquote democracy on everybody. Isn't that what the Nazis were doing? We're spreading freedom. If you will come to your house, we will free you. Are you Juden? I'll free you from the planet. Bang! I mean, I guess it's all depending on what you picture the word freedom to represent. American freedom comes in a bomb or a bullet. Oh, Popeye, you're an American. Are you a Rusky? No, I'm not saying Putin is Rebecca of Sunnybrook Farm. I'm not saying Russia is Rebecca of Sunnybrook Farm. But, I mean, we're sitting here attacking. They're like the Nazis. Really? Really? Torture, war crimes, illegal invasions of other people's country. Who's really the picture of the Nazis here? Do you want to look at it like that? Who actually took Nazis into their government? Project Paperclip. I know. History's a bitch, ladies and gentlemen. Knowing the truth. Whew, that's rough stuff. Yes, I'm in a mood tonight. So, USA Today and a lot of these politicians and all these other quote-unquote news outlets. Oh my God, there's a flyer going around from the new government, the pro-Russian government, saying that the Jews must register. Oh my God. Look, let's get something straight. Okay? It's fake. And I'm going to get into it. I'm going to explain this in a second. But why do I get I guess a little agitated when I see this? Okay? Because it's the same propaganda and people are so ignorant. There's people that'll lap this up. Oh my God, we need to go over there and those Russians, they can't be doing that. These Russians, they can't be doing that. They just want to be the next Hitler. Putin's the next Hitler. We need to invade. I'm going to go join the army now. And there's a lot of people that want to go to war. There's people that I've put videos about, like, we shouldn't go to war with this, and people have in the YouTube comments, I mean, these are serious comments. You're just a pussy. Communism can't stand. We need to stand up to it. You're an idiot. You have communism in your own freaking country, and you don't even realize it, dumbass. Why don't you worry about handling things at home first? Oh, we live in America, America. At least I think I'm free. Right? But no, let's pick fights with Russia. And Obama said something. I saw a video earlier today on YouTube on Mox News' channel. Something about Obama made the comment that our military is superior. What? I hate to break the news to you, Barack. Our military is broken from 12 years of bullshit wars. I don't like that, do you? No, we can't talk about the truth, can we? Our military's broken. We're vastly superior. Right. So let's just go start World War III, right? Because we're not engaged in any other countries anywhere, right? We have enough money to do it. Screw it. Because no other nation in history has ever been stopped by, empire building or, oh, wait a minute. Rome. Well, look, even the Germans had monetary problems because of their wartime ambitions. Oh. And of course, then the backers changed hands and everything. Oh, that's a long story. Anyway, a flyer demanding that Jews in the Ukrainian city of, and I'm going to murder the name, Donetsk, register with its pro-Russian government is fake. A Jewish advocacy group with direct contacts in the region tells the Daily Dot. And the Daily Dot's the website that I got this information from. It's a fake flyer, says Leslie Weiss, deputy director of the National Conference Supporting Jews, the NCSJ, which focuses its efforts on Russia, Ukraine, and the Baltic states. First reported Thursday by Israeli news organization Ynet. Any questions about perhaps why it was faked. Oh, I'm sure Israel never benefits from us starting wars with other countries and things like that. I'm sure they would never want World War III because maybe it would take attention away from what they're doing over in the Middle East. But, no, I know. Israel isn't the only country that benefited from the invasion of Iraq, but I digress. Anyway, and it's not an anti-Jew thing, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. My grandmother and my mother were Jews, okay? Jewish women, which, according to Jewish right, I have quote-unquote Jewish blood in my veins, although I'm not a practicing Jew, never been to temple, don't celebrate Jewish holidays. But my grandmother was in a concentration camp. She was actually on her way to Auschwitz. She had the tattoo on her forearm. Luckily, my great-great-grandfather was able to sell everything he owned, and they were able to prove with some paperwork that she had, I guess, a tad more Catholicism in her blood than Judaism. I don't know. They were able to get her out, but they literally sold everything they owned and had to buy off, guards and everything else, and they were able to get her out and prove through the court system that she had more Catholic in her than Jew in the family. I mean, that's really what was going on back then. Okay, and yes, that she was able to finally get out, but she witnessed, she had her face beat in by a rifle because she refused to watch the assassination of somebody, a fellow resident in her town, and they shot the guy anyway in front of her, but then beat her face in. So I'm not anti-Semitic, okay? Let's just get that straight. That's a label that they use. That's a false label that's always used. It's the equivalent of calling somebody racist. You don't like Obama because he's black. It's the same thing. Same thing. If you criticize something Israel does and you're called a Jew hater or an anti-Semite, guess what? It's the same thing as saying you're racist because you don't agree with a black president. It's a straw man argument. It's crap. So, take it for what it's worth. This fake story about the Jews being rounded up was first reported by Israel. So, the intelligence operations, the CIA, Mossad, printing out leaflets like this. This is how they do things, just saying. This is how things are done. PSYOPs and stuff. First reported Thursday by Israeli news organization Ynet and republished by USA Today, the flyers do exist physically, according to Weiss, but they carry no authority and were not sanctioned by the city's temporary government. Quote, it's not true that they have to register or be deported, says Weiss. NCSJ officials spoke directly to Jewish leadership in the city, who said that Denis Pushlin, chairman of the pro-Russian Donetsk People's Government, denied creating the pamphlets, and these things actually include this guy's name on it. So somebody made these things up to try to foment distrust, try to foment, oh my God, they're rounding Jews up, we need to. It's emotion. It's an emotional argument. We got to be careful, ladies and gentlemen. There are elements that want to drag us into World War III, and this is the kind of stuff they're going to do. It's completely not true, but there's news, our news media, CNN was doing a whole huge piece on it, and I'm not sure if they finally got the word that it was BS and they finally admitted it, but they were talking about it on air. Good old Wolf Blitzer, Mr. Zionist himself. Oh my God, the Jews are being rounded up. No, they're not. No, they're not. They're not. That's a lie. That kind of propaganda could really blow up in your face. The people that put that out there need to chill. You people need to knock it the hell off because you're really coming close to starting World War friggin' III. Psycho a-holes. Instead, Weiss says the flyers were distributed simply to, quote, cause anxiety, end quote, among the city's Jewish population. In an online announcement about the flyers, NCJS said similar flyers were recently handed out to students at a nearby university. That's how they do things. It's typical PSYOP, intelligence community agency operation. I'm telling you. And now you have people that are there on the ground, the locals, saying they don't believe this. They know what this is. They know this is a PSYOP. Members of the Jewish community in Donetsk are saying, quote, it's a provocation, end quote. But we don't know exactly who it's from. While the flyer may not carry any official authority, Weiss says its distribution still has a detrimental effect on Donetsk's Jewish community as it reflects tactics used by the Nazis. Remember this, there was a lot of Nazis in that whole area, or a lot of Jews in that area that were rounded up and executed during World War II. And other people. It wasn't just Jews. Political dissidents, gypsies. You peed and left instead of right, you got rounded up. Once Hitler got tired of you, you got rounded up. I mean, that's the way it works. That's how tyranny works, ladies and gentlemen. So it's causing a lot of anxiety over there. And then, of course, Secretary of State John Kerry, it made its way up the ranks, and he called the pamphlets grotesque. Right. Because I'm sure the State Department has no connection to it whatsoever. USAID, I'm sure there's no connection there whatsoever. The State Department has never done anything shady, only under Hillary. And I'm sure once she was gone, you came in and cleaned things up, right, John Kerry, Mr. Skull and Bones? Yeah, sure. The guy who's a member of a secret society is really going to tell you the truth about what they're doing over there and whether it's not a psyop. But it's grotesque. They're rounding up Jews. Let's invade. In an interview with CNN, U.S. Ambassador to the Ukraine, Jeffrey R. Pyatt, said the flyers were the, quote, real deal and called the documents chilling. Weiss says that her office is in contact with the U.S. Ambassador and that his statements agree with the the NCJS, learned from what they learned from Jewish leaders, meaning that this guy, when he went on CNN and he said they're the real deal, and she alludes to this, she thinks that he was referring to the fact that, yes, they are physically real, meaning they physically exist, but they weren't put out by the government. And she says that this lady that works for this Jewish advocacy group that's saying these things are fake, she's been in contact with his office, and he supposedly knows, the ambassador, that this stuff is fake. So why didn't he just come out and say it like that on CNN? Well, because, that's how they play games. Wag the dog. Does the tail wag the dog, or does the dog wag the tail? Usually the tail, in this case, the tail wags the dog. Weiss, so she says she's in contact with the U.S. ambassador, and he knows this. And, quote, says, we're in touch with him. He's saying that the flyers were real. The flyers exist, Weiss says, but from our sources, they seem to be faked, just to cause anxiety. So he knows. This ambassador went on CNN and told people, yes, they're the real deal. They're the real deal. But yet, they know, they're in contact with his office, and this U.S. ambassador knows that this advocacy group that's on the ground there is saying they're fake. They're not real. But they're reporting it like it's real anyway. They're reporting it like, oh my God, it's the real deal, even though this guy knows it's not. That's shady. What does that tell you, ladies and gentlemen? I mean, are they trying to start World War III? Are they trying to start a range war? Because they'll do it if that's what they're gonna. I mean, if they're trying and they keep pushing things like this, eventually something's gonna stick. You throw enough crap against the wall, something will eventually stick, and that's what they're trying. I mean, at this point, that's what their goal is. You can see it. Their goal is, let's just throw buckets load of crap and whatever we can against the wall and see what sticks. And that's where we're at right now. That's great. That's where we're at with this right now. So the Jews being rounded up by the pro-Russian government over there in the Crimea and in the Ukraine area there. No. Now, you should have to worry about the other ones, the neo-Nazis that are running around. What is it, the far right or whatever the hell it is, something right sector, I think was what it was called. Right sector, I think was the name of the group, neo-Nazi group over there. Those guys might want to kill Jews. They might have an issue with it. They might want actually Jews to register and stuff like that. But, why would the pro-Russian government do that? How would that benefit them? You don't think that would, they would sit and go, well, in this day and age, I think that'll cause condemnation. No. They're just, Popeye, you don't understand. Evil, they just don't think. They just do stuff because they're bad. They're just bad. Blah. Right, okay, right. Wake up. It's crap. They know it's fake, and like I said, this lady said her office has been in touch with the U.S. ambassador, and he knows it's fake. Yet he's on CNN saying it's, quote, the real deal. That would mean that he knows that, yes, they physically exist, but they're not really real, put out by the government. The government didn't issue this stuff. But yet, they'll tell you it is. And, of course, you have politicians and news media running with it. Because anything like this that they can run with and scare the crap out of you with and twist your emotions and get you to believe something. I mean, how many people would go, oh, my God, they're rounding Jews up. Dude, we got to do something. We can't have a repeat of the Holocaust or World War II. Oh, my God. Yeah, and then how quickly would we be involved in another war? Everybody needs to chill out with this. All right. So let's switch gears because I got about 8 minutes left. Actually, I got about 7.5 minutes left. I just looked at the timer. Really quick, I want to shed some light on the Bundy Ranch situation one more time. I just want to play an audio clip of Harry Reid and his little soft-spoken voice. Keeps clearing his throat. It's probably because he's lying, and he knows he's lying. And he's trying to come up with the truth. Perhaps somebody should give him a glass of water because he does not sound credible at all. Anyway, no, Harry Reid never sounds credible. But according to him, the Bundy Ranch supporters are domestic terrorists. That's right. That's right. According to Harry Reid, the supporters of Clive and Bundy, if you support them even at home, and you don't agree with what they're doing, and then, we're protecting the desert tortoise, even though there's video that even Fox News showed that they literally destroyed at least one desert tortoise habitat, the BLM trucks, by driving over it, and they executed this guy's cattle. They found a mass grave with cattle in it. So the BLM killed innocent animals for no reason at all. Isn't that violence against animals? Isn't that animal cruelty? I seen Michael Vick went to jail for fighting dogs. What about executing a bunch of cows and bulls for no reason at all? What about that? Some of them prize animals, like award-winning prize animals, $2,500 a head. But now we just execute them. Who cares? So let's listen to what Harry Reid has to say for a second, shall we? This dirtbag.
Now, the Nevada ranchers, they pay their taxes, they pay their fees, and they follow the law. That's the way it should be. Now, what about Clive and Bundy? Clive and Bundy does not recognize the United States. He says that the United States is a foreign government. He doesn't pay his taxes. He doesn't pay his fees, unlike the rest of Nevada ranchers. And he doesn't follow the law. There are 2 court orders that have directed him to get your cattle off the land. And one of them was one of the orders was written by Lloyd George, who is really one of the most thoughtful, considerate people in the country. He has exhausted his ability to go to court, but now he continues to.
First of all, the court orders are about the quote unquote desert tortoise. See, they don't tell you the details because that's really what matters. He just says, "Well, we have a court order, so it's cool. I have a court order, so you lost." But for what? What's the reason you're trying to harass the guy? Supposedly for a desert tortoise. See, you don't explain the excuses that they use to take land away, right? Right, Harry? Let me clear my throat a couple times. And he's this is the country's land. This is public land, and you have to pay taxes on it. Even though Clive and Bundy's family was using that land before you. And your relatives were ever even a twinkle in and anybody in your family lineage's eye, Mr. Reid. But no, that doesn't matter, right? Because this guy's just a domestic terrorist piece of crap, right? Right? That's what you think of us, you elitists. We've got the law on our side. He's violating the law. So the court orders were to protect a desert tortoise, which then when the BLM trucks went out there, they ran over tortoise habitats, probably crushing eggs and at least killing, I'm sure, 1 or 2 desert tortoises. So you went out there to throw a rancher off his land to save a tortoise and in turn caused damage to tortoises, habitats, and killed innocent animals. Well done. Well done.
To thumb his nose at authority.
Who's thumbing whose nose? Don't even get me started. You're thumbing your nose at the Constitution, D-bag.
I think that we have to put this in the proper perspective. I've spoken.
See, I can't stand the way he talks. By the way, when he mentioned before, when he was talking about the opinion that was written or whatever, and he says, and it was written by this person who's the most thoughtful, considerate. It doesn't matter if the guy was Jesus Christ of Nazareth, okay? That does not come into play. The personality of the person writing a decision on something shouldn't come into play. Okay, that's fluff. You're trying to add emotion and you're trying to... See, that's how you build a straw man argument. That's what they're doing. Liar. It's got nothing to do with it, Harry. Nothing. I don't care if he's a great guy. He could save children by the busload on a daily basis. I don't care. It's got nothing to do with it. If he rules on something that's illegal and he helps push tyrannical agendas, he's wrong. It doesn't matter if he's a nice guy or not. That's a logical fallacy, ladies and gentlemen.
Sheriff Gillespie in detail. I've spoken to the Attorney General, Eric Holder in detail. I've spoken to James Comey, the head of the FBI.
Okay, so the head of the FBI, right? That doesn't hold any weight with me. Eric Holder is a criminal, and the sheriff in that county is a criminal for not enforcing the laws, which he knows he actually has the superior power over the government agents. The sheriff in that county has more power than the president of the United States. So what you're telling me is you conferred with a bunch of other criminals that are on your side and that are willing to do your bidding. That makes it valid. So Tony Soprano met with all of his capos, and that makes his decision okay because, hey, I met with the other capos and we're all good to go. No.
In detail, talked to him yesterday. I've talked to the Secretary of Interior yesterday, and it's an issue that we cannot let go and just walk away from it. Keep in mind what happened up there. There were hundreds of people from around the country that came there. They had sniper rifles on the freeway. They had assault weapons. They had automatic weapons. And as one of the former sheriffs...
They didn't have fully automatic weapons. That's illegal. How many times have I gone over this? That was a lie. They weren't out there with fully automatic weapons. They were out there with semi-automatic rifles and sniper rifles. Well, you had sniper rifles too. And dogs and people pushing pregnant women to the ground or sicking a dog on a pregnant woman and pushing another woman to the ground. Tasing Bundy's kid 3 times, which, by the way, you guys must have crapped your pants when that big old hoss just shook off 3 taser strikes like it wasn't shit. Yeah, you must have been crapping your pants then, huh, boys? Oh my God, our toys don't work. What do we do? We might have to actually fight somebody. What do we do? Because we're park rangers. We're Bureau of Land Management. I'm Barney Fife, and they gave me a real gun to use, and I feel tough, but suddenly I don't have any power. D-bags. I'll have to finish this up on the other side. I'll have to let it play. I'll have to finish up what Harry Reid said on the other side because there's not enough time. About 30 seconds. I want you to hear him call everybody domestic terrorists. There's only about 40 seconds of it left. Domestic terrorism! Stay tuned. We'll be right back. More Harry Reid to the woodshed on the other side. Plus PTS and an alert for dog owners. Stay tuned. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back with hour number 2 here on tonight's live edition of Down the Rabbit Hole. I am your host, Popeye from FederalJack.com. It is April 17th, 2014, and when we were interrupted by the top of the hour break, I was in the middle of taking Harry Reid, soft-spoken Harry Reid. I'm soft-spoken Harry Reid. By the way, just because he speaks softly doesn't mean he's not evil. That guy is Tony Soprano with a wispy little voice and a dry throat. But it doesn't matter because I can be just as evil as Tony Soprano with a wispy throat and a dry voice. Just because he talks with that voice and very slow doesn't mean he's not evil, ladies and gentlemen. Let's not fall for that. Well, he doesn't sound or look evil. Oh, gee, so I guess that's the way we should just rate everything from now on. Duh. That guy is no good. And by the way, the fact that he attacked that woman that had cancer over the Obamacare thing, said she was a liar and everything else. You notice he never does that out on the street. You notice he never does that outside the floor of Congress, like in the halls of Congress itself. You know why? Because he can't be sued for libel or slander while he's in there talking, while they're debating things. They're immune from legal problems, lawsuits. So he can attack anybody he wants, libel them, slander them, whether it's written or verbal, doesn't matter. He can do it. And as long as it's from the House floor, Senate floor, doesn't matter. He's immune. So you notice he only attacks people or calls them liars from certain positions. Now, he wasn't doing this on the House floor. This was an interview he was doing. He was sitting on stage, and I guess he was question and answer thing, whatever. But you notice he didn't attack anybody libelous or slanderously. No, he was smart. He just called the supporters domestic terrorists because they have guns and everything else, right? Well, I mean, that in itself is kind of slanderous, but he's speaking to the authority or to the audience as if he has an air of authority because of his position. He's a liar. I mean, the only time he ever really disparages anybody and calls people liars or anything like that and takes them on to that level is when he's got legal immunity when he's in the halls of Congress, because he doesn't do it out on the street. Oh, he's certainly smart not to do that, or at least in around cameras or where it's recorded. I'm sure he does it, in the back door meetings and stuff, but he's certainly smart enough to not do it in front of the cameras where it could be recorded and he could be sued for it. That's how these scumbags work. They'll go up to their little pulpit, a little bully pulpit, and they'll sit there and they'll preach, I'm Harry Reid. You're all terrorists. You lady that has cancer, and even though Obamacare screwed you and you were lied to, you're a liar. You're just a paid actor by the Republicans because it's a right-wing conspiracy, because it's always the right versus the left, ladies and gentlemen. Never look beyond that. I'm Harry Reid. Or excuse me, I'm Harry Reid, ladies and gentlemen. Never look beyond that. My throat's a little dry. Here, let me get to this clip so I can move on to the other stuff. Stop raking him over the coals. It's just too easy with this guy.
Arizona said, and we had children and women lined up because if anyone got hurt, we wanted to make sure they got hurt first, because we wanted the federal government hurting women and children. This is the deal, and it's not a good one. So,
first of all, by the way, everybody attacked Sheriff Mack for that. That's an old school protesting thing. It's an old school tactic. You put the women in the front because they won't attack the women or the children. So it's not hiding behind it. If they were hiding behind them shooting and putting the women out, and like if they were in a firefight and they put the women in front of them as human shields, that's different. Protesting, you have to have different tactics and you have to think outside the box. And by the way, it's an old school tactic. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying women should be put in front and shot. I'm just saying it's an old school protest tactic. And for all of these people, the mainstream media, even people in the alternative media, and this D-bag, they want women and children to be shot first. They don't care about women and children. See, the general public doesn't understand the tactic. So the media and the powers that shouldn't be aren't going to explain that part of the tactic to you. They're just going to attack it like, you're a domestic insurgent. Run. We have to take them out. I'm Harry Reid. What I say, actually, it's more like, I'm Harry Reid, and what I say goes, I need a glass of water, please.
So these people who hold themselves out to be patriots are not. They're nothing more than domestic terrorists.
Oh, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. You people that hold yourself to be patriots, all you people out there at the Bundy Ranch that are protecting the Bundys from being Waco'd, by the way. And you know what? Well done to all of you out there, by the way, for standing up for those people. I'm proud of all of you. You're not domestic terrorists. F Harry Reid and the mainstream media, okay? He's a domestic terrorist. He's a domestic terrorist. Who scares the crap out of people? Who runs around using law enforcement to intimidate people? Who threatens people? Who lies about people? Who uses fear to get what he wants? Last time I checked the definition of terrorism, that about fits it. So, Harry Reid, you are the domestic terrorist.
I think that we are a country that people should follow the law. And what went up in Mesquite is not very good. I repeat, what went on up there is domestic terrorism.
You're right. I completely wholeheartedly agree, Harry, that it's domestic terrorism up there. I wholeheartedly agree that what happened up there is complete domestic terrorism. I completely concur. What happened up there is domestic terrorism. Of course, it was being enacted by the BLM and the government jackboot thug agents. I don't recall Cliven Bundy's family or supporters going out and rounding up anybody else's animals that are, whether or not you want to look at it as the cattle are the rancher's property or the animals themselves do have the right to live, right? I mean, they are living creatures. I didn't see Cliven Bundy's family or supporters or any of the militia people out there. I didn't see them running around shooting innocent animals, killing them and putting them in mass graves, driving over tortoise habitats. No, I saw the BLM doing that. I saw the BLM killing. Again, go on your favorite search engine. Doesn't matter, ladies and gentlemen. Go on your favorite search engine right now, or Facebook. I'm sure the pictures are all over there, or whatever other, Twitter, or wherever else you use. Okay, go on there. Go ahead, do it. Go. Look up mass cattle grave on Bundy Ranch. Mass cattle grave on Bundy Ranch. And the pictures should come up. There'd be a bazillion articles in the alternative media about it today. Come on. Even Fox News was reporting and showing video of it yesterday. So who's the real terrorist in this situation? Let's be honest. Let's look at it. Look, the definition of terrorism, right? Like they say, oh, they do violence and they use fear to persuade you politically, right? I'm nutshelling it there. You know, it's kind of a rough. In fact, here we'll do it right now. Let's look it up. Let's go to terrorism definition. Let's say definition of terrorism. Oh, here we go. Let's see. Let's go to Merriam-Webster's dictionary. Okay, same place I got the definition of conspiracy for you all a couple weeks ago. Remember that? Here, let's find terrorism. Terrorism. The use of violent acts to frighten the people in an area as a way of trying to achieve a political goal. Okay, so who is enacting terrorism? Who is partaking in terrorism? I'll read that to you again so you can understand, so you have a full understanding of the Merriam-Webster dictionary definition of the word terrorism. The use of violent acts to frighten the people in an area as a way of trying to achieve a political goal. Gee, could that be what the BLM and Harry Reid and all these other jackbooted D-bags were doing out there? Again, the definition of terrorism, the use of violent acts to frighten the people in an area as a way of trying to achieve a political goal. What do you think they were doing? Do you not think that they are trying to achieve a political goal, an end? Yes. And they are using terrorism. They are using violent acts. I would consider tasing somebody 3 times. I would consider sicking a dog on a pregnant woman and shoving a woman to the ground. And by the way, when I say shove, this douchebag BLM guy, you can see the video. He came up and he body checks this out of he came up from behind her and slammed her on the ground, and he's all tough. Yeah, I'm a cop. Yeah. No, you're a loser. And like I said to you last night, when you go home, you should look at yourself in the mirror and repeat, I am a loser. I sell out my fellow human beings for $1, and I have no integrity. And your manhood is probably about the size of my pinky finger, and that's why you do it. Because you're not secure in yourself. So you have to go out and you have to be cool and put on that uniform and be a tough guy thug to make yourself feel better, huh? Well, you're tough guy thug. I know. Like one of the cops in Miami told me once when we were dealing with the health department and the flu shots, and I had all these cops in my face. This big fat cop kept telling me, he actually told me his dick was hard. That's how bad he wanted to arrest me. That's what he said to me. I want to arrest you so bad my dick is hard, man. You open your mouth one more time. Bah! So I kept going. And the sergeant was sitting there kept telling him to calm down. He wanted to arrest me so bad. This big, fat cop. Probably ate half the donut shop on his way to the call. Gut busting out over top of his utility belt. Yeah, I'm here. Well, he said to me, "You're one of those guys that reads too much." Yeah, I'm one of those assholes that reads too much, right? Definition of terrorism from the Merriam-Webster dictionary. All you guys out there that animate those costumes and run around, "Oh, I'm a cop. I'm a government agent. I'm cool." All you idiots that are into that. The definition of terrorism from the Merriam-Webster dictionary. The use of violent acts to frighten the people in an area as a way of trying to achieve a political goal. What do you think you're doing, geniuses? Well, it's different. I'm with the government. No, it's not different. You're a D-bag. You're still a D-bag, and you're always going to be a D-bag because you think that costume represents you. You're so out of touch with everything around you and your own humanity, it's not even funny. The costume is not you. It's a freaking costume. Well, my badge is metal, not plastic. What does that mean? It's made out of a different substance, so suddenly it's got authority? When the hell has that ever happened? It's in your head. Here's a little test. Take your costume off. No gun, no ticket book. And I don't mean carry your gun undercover in your pocket, I'm going to get my badge up. No. Take all of that away. Leave it at home. Take your ticket book in your police car. If you got a canine, leave that at home. Leave all of that representative stuff of your thug job at home. Nothing. No gun, no badge, no quote-unquote physical representation of your authority. I mean, you have the authority by yourself, right? You don't need any of that stuff. That's just stuff, right? You still have the authority, right? So now that you're by yourself, no gun, no handcuffs, no radio, no badge, no I'm a police officer. None of that. You can't even yell that or say that out loud. Now, with that being said, I want you then to go out in your street clothes and go out, and I want you to just randomly pull someone over in your car, flash your headlights, everything, pull them over, and when you get out, I want you to treat them the same D-bag way you would. Tell them you're going to arrest. Oh, well, you can't tell them that you're going to arrest them. Oh, that's right. Oh, they might not pull over because you're just some crazy a-hole flashing your headlights. Oh, and they're probably not going to listen to you, if not knock you out when you try to pull them over, because they might look at you like, what the hell is wrong with you? Why are you even pulling me over? Oh. So you really don't have any authority without that car and those lights and that little costume with the little badge and all of its neat little accessories that you can buy. Oh, I know. I piss off police when I say this stuff. I know. You're a dick, Popeye. You just don't like cops. Right. I don't like cops. I have friends that are cops. I've said this before. One of them actually I've repeated this the past 2 weeks. Very close friend of mine was a sheriff for 8 years. He quit because he couldn't stand around being meathead. He couldn't stand around being around all the meatheads that he was with. They were all idiots. They were all, yeah, we got to arrest people. He wanted to get out of that. He's awesome. He's awesome for doing that. Because he just didn't want to, he tried to fight the good fight, but he realized that, like, his position that he was in there, it was a losing war for him. He tried for a very long time, though. I understand, I give him the credit, I know what he went through. But at least he woke up and said, I'm not doing this anymore. And he wasn't one of those cops that would do things like that anyway. That's one of the reasons he didn't fit in with the rest of them, because he was actually one of those very few and far between good ones now. Now, if only the rest of you would realize that your costume is just that. It's a freaking costume that doesn't give you any authority. It doesn't give you any power. Take that thing off and then go try to have, the same type of conversation with your attitude with somebody else without that gun or that ticket book or anything else. It ain't going to happen the same way that it would with that badge or that ticket book in your hand. And we all know it. Or that gun on your hip. Or that little costume. We all know it. You animate that for your masters. They do not care about you. You're not a special class. You're the same people that you're pushing around. You're pushing around yourself. You're pushing around your mother, your father, your brother, your sister, your wife, your kids. That's who you're pushing around. That's who you're pushing into tyranny. How would you react if that was your father? How would you react if Clive and Bundy was your father or your grandfather? Or if that pregnant woman that they sicked the dog on, if that was your mother or your wife with your child? To those pussy canine handlers. What if that was your wife with your child? Well, I don't have kids. That's besides the point. You're avoiding the question. What if that was your wife with your child? Would you sick the dog on her? No, you wouldn't. Maybe you would because some of you are sadistic idiots. But would you sick the dog on your own wife or your own mother or your own father? Probably not. But you'll do it to somebody else's. How would you like if somebody else did it to your mother or father? Oh, you wouldn't like that. Maybe that's what it will take, huh? Maybe when they start rounding you up for being a criminal, but I'm a law enforcement officer, doesn't mean you can't be a criminal in their eyes tomorrow. Veterans are great one minute, domestic terrorists the next. That doesn't mean anything to these people. You want to know that. Pay attention. Anyway, I got to switch gears because we got 8 minutes left before the break comes up. And the next segment, I'm going to be getting into PTSD, and it's a complete different conversation, and I just don't want to be all amped up and angry for that one. I want to sit and try to talk to you guys heart to heart, help you guys understand a little bit more about PTSD. So before we get into that, there's something else I want to a little audio clip I want to play. It's a story. This actually goes back to 2013, November of 2013, but 50th anniversary and everything else, and the road trip. You miss things, and I didn't see this, but it's an important story. I did a show about pet health the other day, last week, with Thomas Ryan. That was part of the show. We talked about pet health, like first hour, and actually had a huge. I got a huge positive response from that. There's a lot of people that were happy that I did that broadcast. So tonight I wanted to take a couple minutes and talk about something of the same nature, pet health. And it's not getting off on a tangent or anything, or going off on a side issue. This is important. Now, everybody that has dogs understands heartworm prevention, flea prevention, and all this other stuff. Well, there's different medications they make. And there's one that you can give your dog once a month. It's called Comfortis, and I've used it before if they've had fleas, and it'll kill the fleas instantly. Like it does, the medication gets in their blood, and then it kills the fleas. It kind of makes you wonder what it does to the dog. Of course, the vet always says it's harmless, blah, blah, blah. So they came out, and then the heartworm medication is usually a different type of medication that you give them separate. Well, they came out with this new thing, this new drug, and it's called Trifexis. And it was the drug companies came out with it, and it was a mix of heartworm and anti-flea stuff. And I was like, I don't know if mixing them together is good, and I don't give my dog medication the way the vet would want me to. It's, she eats healthy and everything else like that. Anyway, the point is, I was very leery about it. I said, no, I'm not giving Monster that crap at all. You guys all know I carry her with me. She's my little nugget. I love this dog. I wouldn't put her in harm's way. So long story short, I was very leery about it, and I'm glad I didn't, because I found this yesterday, and I want to pass this on to you. I want you guys to hear this story. Trifexis is blamed for over 700 dog deaths. More dog deaths than those bad jerky treats from China that everybody was making a big kerfluffle about? Where's this? Oh, because it's big pharma. Let's take a listen.
Consumer investigator Jim Strickland has discovered the dog deaths blamed on a popular flea and heartworm pill actually outnumber the cases involving Chinese jerky treats. Jim kept digging for information that the drug company refused to hand over.
Yeah, Justin, this is what a spokesperson for drug maker Elanco told me. All of the facts of the case continue to point that there is no story. This is the most popular pill of its kind, 50 million doses dispensed, and most dogs do well. But these FDA documents seen here for the first time say since the pill was launched on the market, on average, every 36 hours, a pet owner reports that Trifexis killed a dog.
We just want to make sure that the full extent of the story is known.
So said Elanco veterinarian Stephen Connell less than 1 month ago when the company agreed to speak on camera for the first time.
Thank you for calling Elanco.
But Connell refused to divulge how many complaints of deaths and illnesses were called into Elanco's customer response center. The company is required to tell the FDA. And through a Freedom of Information Act request, I've learned pet owners have reported 700 dog deaths. That's 120 more than the deaths linked to Chinese chicken jerky treats. But like the treats, Trifexis is suspected, but not the proven cause. While Connell would not disclose the number of complaints, he did admit this.
Everything that we have on file is within expectations. We remain convinced that the value and benefit of this product still far exceeds the rare risk of these things happening, as unfortunate as they are.
I thoroughly believe that Trifexis is what killed her. I tell everybody I know who has a dog, don't give them Trifexis.
Chris Smith's dog, Kinsey, was an agility-trained athlete. She was dead 3 hours after taking her first dose of Trifexis. A necropsy showed hemorrhaging from several organs. March 1st, 2011, 6 weeks after Trifexis launched. Smith says Kinsey was dog death report number 1. You make a phone call, and Elanco tells you you're the first one they've ever heard of.
Yes, sir.
The FDA numbers show 259 of the 700 dogs were euthanized. My original whistleblower, Beth Tim's dog, Gizmo, is one of them.
Her fever got to 106. They had to give her an ice bath. And she says, we need to make a decision. She says, nothing we're doing is working.
The FDA website still posts only 31 dog death reports, woefully inaccurate and outdated. That doesn't even count complaints filed online.
The FDA says it's updating their systems, and it's not just the death reports.
I was scared to death. I thought he was dying that night.
Amy Thornton calls her pug Ivan a hardy dog. I saw why. Ivan had 2 doses of Trifexis without incident. Thornton videoed what happened after dose number 3. Ivan appears to have little control of his back legs.
Exactly 6 hours after I gave it to him, he started just acting really weird, lethargic. I felt awful.
Reports of lethargy posted online at just above 600 are actually just short of 8,000. Vomiting, 2,200 reports on the web. In fact, it's more than 30,000.
We have not identified with all of these reports any specific trends that we can link directly to the use of the product. That said, it is an ongoing evaluation that we do and we feel is our responsibility.
I think it's too coincidental that there are too many dogs dying right after they take that or, soon after.
Again, these numbers reflect owners reporting dead or sick dogs. Trifexis is suspected, but just like the chicken jerky treats from China, there is no proof Trifexis is to blame. Late this afternoon, Elanco sent us a statement from Chris Smith's vet at the time, and that says he doesn't believe that it was Trifexis that killed Kinsey.
So, Jim, with so much information coming out and the investigation ongoing, what's a dog owner to do now?
Well, we can tell you that the report that we aired 2 weeks ago, our first story when we broke it, it got shared online 70,000 times. The Georgia Vet Association put out a statement saying stories like this that go viral show how important it is for pet owners to talk to the vet and discuss the options that are out there. Every vet I heard from said the same thing. Do not boycott heartworm prevention entirely. Find a product that you're comfortable with, because it is a critical part of a dog's well-being to have heartworm prevention.
Gosh, a shame, though. Thank you, Jim. Okay. And we have a lot more from our investigation available at WSBTV.com. Get to understand this topic. There we've posted complete FDA documentation of complaints. And there you'll also find extended interviews with the owner of a dog that got sick and one whose dog died. Plus, the medication manufacturer's response to our original report. It's at WSBTV.com.
Right. I'm sure that information is going to be real up to date from the FDA, even though, according to their records, there's only 33 dogs that have died, but it's over 700. And this was in November of last year. Stay away from that Trifexis crap. By the way, heartworm prevention could be taken care of with the kind of food that you feed them. Look it up. Right back. Don't trust Big Pharma. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. Final segment of tonight's live edition. All right. So we're switching gears. We're calmed down now. Monster's hanging out with me here in the background, right, Monster? You say no Trifexis for doggies, right? You say Make sure you do your homework, ladies and gentlemen. Don't let your doggies get sick. That's right. Right from the snoring dog's mouth herself. Little munchkin over there in the corner wants you all to know that to make sure you pay attention to what you're putting into your animals' bodies. Cat, dog, animal, bird, fish, does not matter. Anyway, shifting gears, I want to talk about PTS. In the last segment here, I want to go over this in detail. I want to break things down for you a little bit, help you understand what it is. Maybe if I share a little bit about my personal experience with it, nothing, groundbreaking that, oh my God, Popeye's releasing details of his life. Nothing like that. I mean, I'm going to tell you that it's not dramatic. This isn't for hits or anything. This is trying to help people understand what PTS is. There's so many people that think, well, soldiers just get it, and it's only from war. It's shell shock. No, that's because it's misunderstood because no one really knows because they haven't done the research, and the people that have researched it, they just, it's always throw a pill. The doctors don't know anything about it because to them, everything is throw a pill at it. Well, take this pill and it'll fix it, or take this pill and it'll fix it. Or they don't focus on what it really is. Okay? So I'm going to go into detail a little bit. First of all, let's stop calling it PTSD. It is not a disorder. A disorder would imply that something is wrong with you, and that is why you're having this reaction to whatever. Okay? There is nothing wrong with you if you suffer from PTS. Doesn't matter if you're a veteran. Doesn't matter if you were in a car accident, you were raped. You're going to suffer from PTS. So there's nothing wrong with going through it. I know when someone suffers a traumatic experience and they go through PTS, there's a bit of shame in it. And that is because of societal standards and things. People feel a level of shame. Like that these feelings of anxiety or panic or fear or however you want to classify it, however it makes you feel, racing thoughts, paranoia, you react, hypervigilance. It's hard to, when you're in that state, it's hard to explain to people what it's like to be in that state. But when you're in that state, you're just, you take things the wrong way. You're not paying attention. You're on guard, but it really messes with you. And there's nothing wrong with feeling like that. There's nothing wrong with feeling that way. There's nothing wrong with you having those reactions. A lot of people go, well, what's wrong with me? I must be broken. Something's wrong with me. See, that's the problem, is our society and throughout, humanity, whatnot, how it's been controlled or whatever, how society has grown throughout the thousands of years. That's the way people assume that if there's something wrong, if everything is not status quo, it's got to be wrong. Something is wrong with you. Something is broken. You need to be fixed. Oh my God, he's broken. He's got post-traumatic stress disorder. It's a disorder. No, it's not a disorder. Post-traumatic stress is a completely normal response to a completely abnormal situation that causes you such an amount of trauma. Okay? That's what it is. Now, you could have PTS from anything. Again, I won't say the D because it's not a disorder. It's a completely natural reaction to a completely abnormal situation. So if you're in war is insane. War is the opposite of sanity. War is the opposite of normal. War is bizarro world on crack, okay? You come back from watching your friend get his face blown off or surviving an IED explosion. That's a traumatic event. But what about the people that weren't maybe leaving the base? They were in a forward operating base, but they didn't leave the wire. They weren't infantry. They weren't grunts. They weren't ground pounders. Perhaps they were engineers on the base. Perhaps they worked on the base, but they still took incoming mortar fire every day, and they had mortars landing, and people were getting killed on the base from mortar fire. Well, what about that? That's traumatic. surviving a mortar attack, having your friends killed by a mortar attack, even being worried about a mortar, having that stress of the possibility that any given moment a mortar could land where you are and kill you. Being in a situation for an extended period of time where you know your life is in danger. And it's not, well, I'm in this for an hour or 2 hours, 3 hours, and then it stops. No, you're in it for months at a time, and your body is just on that. That's traumatic. What about a person driving a car and they have an accident? They have a rollover accident. Maybe they have an accident involving a motorcycle or something. You hit someone on a motorcycle and you kill that person. That's traumatic. You don't get killed yourself. Maybe you weren't even injured, but you were involved in an accident which took another person's life. That's traumatic. Don't you think that would cause PTS? Maybe a woman is raped. As horrific as the crime is, and I think that all rapists should have their balls cut off and then be shot square in the forehead, no questions asked. Rapists and pedophiles are even lower to me than murderers. I mean, murder is a horrific crime, but to me, rape is even lower than that, and pedophilia is even lower than that. And, well, both rapists and pedophiles should be dealt with accordingly. But if a woman is raped, she can suffer from PTS. Without a doubt, she'll be suffering from it. That's a traumatic experience for her. Horrific thing. She'll suffer from PTS. How about women in the military? They're not even in a combat situation, but they're raped. They get PTS from that. How about if someone you love very close to you? Maybe you're close to your nana. Maybe you're close to your mom. And they suddenly die. Or even if it's a protracted death and they've been sick for a few months and you've been taking care of them, that stress builds up. It's traumatic to you. You're going to experience PTS without a shadow of a doubt at least once in your life. All of you listening. At one point or another in your life, you will experience PTS. The symptoms of it. You know why? Because everybody is susceptible to it. Again, it's a perfectly normal reaction to an abnormal situation. So to all the vets out there that commit suicide and stuff, and they think a lot of what they're going through is it's abnormal to you or you're broken. You're not broken, guys. You're not. In fact, you're actually more sane than the people that you know that aren't affected by what you experienced. The people that are okay with it and it doesn't matter to them and they can sleep well at night and it's all cool and it literally doesn't bother them, which there are people like that. Those are the people that actually should be the ones that should be going and seeking help, or at least a counselor or speaking to somebody. What you're going through is completely normal. Why do you think there's so many people having PTS to get out of the military? Because it's a completely normal reaction to what you're going through. Trust me, I know. PTS has got a stigma around it where someone hears PTS and they instantly think that this person is going to come and shoot a place up or they're going to go nuts. And there are times people that maybe a veteran who's used to carrying a gun or being in a war zone might have a gun in their glove box or something, and they get cut off, road rage accident, and the person with them, the vet goes to reach for the gun and the person has to calm them down. I'm sure that's happened. I know it's happened. But that's the circumstances of it. It's each case is its own case. Everything is the circumstances are for that case only. It's not an umbrella type situation where you can just say, well, that means anybody with PTS is going to get a gun and start being reactive like that and be irrational and everything else. To help you understand why people react like that and why people flip out and have, maybe they'll be calm one minute and they flip out the next. Post-traumatic stress, the amount of trauma that you end up experiencing, it's such trauma that it just causes you to disconnect. Like when I was a firefighter, we used to talk about how, we would make crude jokes sometimes or whatnot, not about the victims, but like just about things in general, or try not to get emotional, when you're at an accident scene or something, you have to do that to be able to do your work and see what we see, especially when there's kids involved and stuff. And, you see this stuff, you experience this stuff day in, day out. It eats at you. I mean, why do you think cops end up eating bullets? There's such a high rate of suicide amongst police officers. I'm not kidding. Post-traumatic stress. You think doing that job is easy? I mean, I'm not saying that. Okay, look, you know how I am about the costume and everything, but the real, like, if you're a good cop or whatnot, and you see a lot of bad stuff. Maybe you're in an area where it is a bad area, and you guys actually are doing. Not all of the cops in the area are doing whatever, but maybe you're a good cop. Maybe you're one of those few, and you did 30 years, and the older generation cops, and maybe you were a detective in homicide for 15 years. I mean, can you imagine these homicide detectives? You don't think these guys have PTSD? Or excuse me, see, I even slipped. PTS? You don't think they have PTS? You don't think they have it at all? I know. I would assume that they do. I mean, you see murders and crime scenes like that. That stuff is traumatic to the human brain. You don't even realize it. Look, case in point, I'll give you my personal experience. Hey, I suffered from PTS after 9/11, and I actually joined the military, went through boot camp with it, and I didn't know what it was. And then I served my entire time like dealing with it, not understanding what it was until actually years after I had gotten out. I did not understand what was going on. And then, of course, being in the military and stuff too, then anything else that you might have experienced in there, if you were, if you ever experienced something that was traumatic to you as an individual, whatever it may be, that can add to it. Now, I had it because the way it affected me was survivor's guilt after 9/11, because I was a first responder that day. I helped out with the Red Cross. And I kept saying, especially like to my mother, she was one of my close confidants at the time, and I would sit and talk to her, and I would tell her, I wish I could have done more. And I would literally sometimes, I would be sitting out back, like I'd go out in my backyard, I'd smoke a cigarette, I'd be sitting on the porch out back, the patio, and I'd be smoking a cigarette, and I would start to cry. And I didn't understand why. I just felt so helpless, and I felt like I had failed. And that if I had somehow done something or known something, I could have saved more people. I mean, I was trained in high-angle rescue. I have all sorts of certificates when I was a firefighter. High-angle rescue, rappelling, search and rescue, firefighter 1, firefighter 2, an arson investigation class I took at the State College for a year and a half. Another arson investigation class I took at the County Fire Academy. Officers courses, all sorts of stuff. I mean, I was doing urban search and rescue, all sorts of things I was trained and I was a specialist in. When I was younger, that was my job. I loved being a firefighter, and I actually didn't get paid for it. We were volunteers, but you do all this training. Volunteer firefighters, by the way, there's more of them than paid firefighters in this country. And just so people understand, volunteers do the same job that paid guys do. They just don't get a check for it. Okay, that's the only difference. They don't get to sit in the firehouse and get a paycheck and collect a paycheck while they do it. They have their everyday lives and then disconnect from that to go fight fires and stuff. That's what volunteers do. Okay, a lot of people don't understand what volunteer firefighters do, but you want to talk about a noble calling. Anyway, so after 9/11, I was a firefighter for 6.5 years. I had 6.5 years of hardcore, and anybody that knows me and knew me when I was a firefighter, especially, when I'm into something, like I do 110%. And I was at the fire academy and at the state fire college all the time. They had they were different at different colleges. They had different courses that were put on state level that were certification courses for firefighters. And I would go to these weekends. I would go take these college. Everybody else was going out and partying when I was 19 and 20 years old, right? Or partying, chilling out. You know where I was? Popeye was driving down to the universities, and I was taking classes to better myself as a firefighter, because I had wanted to be a paid firefighter. That was my ultimate goal, right? So here I am, and that takes forever and all this other that's more of a bureaucratic mess than anything else, trust me. But 9/11 happened. So I'm a volunteer firefighter. 9/11 happens. We were sitting down at Giant Stadium waiting for ambulances to come in because there was ambulances from all over the tri-state area, Pennsylvania, all the way up as far as Vermont and Maine coming in. It was really crazy. So there was a bunch of firefighters and trucks and ambulances and stuff from Jersey that were down at Giant Stadium, because that's where the staging area was. And long story short, the Giant Stadium's not even there anymore, but that's where the state police staging area was. By the way, I've talked about this before. That's where I was standing in the radio tent, and when we heard them arrest the van load of Israelis over on the George Washington Bridge with explosives in the van. That there's actually, if you go on YouTube, I have it up on some of my YouTube channels, and it's on federaljack.com. Look up George Washington Bridge, van full of Middle Eastern men or van full of Israelis, bombs on 9/11, and it should pop up in the video. It should pop up. But I was in the tent when that radio call came in. I've talked about this before. But anyway, being there, we were there for about 3 or 4 hours, and you could see it was, to be there like that close, it was different. Like you could see the cloud coming up the plume. You could smell it. We were across the river in Jersey, and you could smell it. You could just smell the death. And we were sitting there, like one of the things that really affected me is after about 3.5, 4 hours, whatever it was, we were sitting there. They were supposed to be bringing in busloads of victims. They had like charter buses and city buses. They were supposedly loading up with victims and then ferrying them out of the city because they were closing all of Manhattan Island down, everything. So they were ferrying everybody, a lot of people across to Jersey. And they were supposed to bring all the victims right across and then bring them over to Giant Stadium. And that's where we were going to offload them from the buses, put them in the ambulances, and all of us locals, because we knew where all the hospitals were. We'd already organized all this. We were ready, just waiting for the people. We were going to take all the out of area ambulances to the local hospitals. We were going to start ferrying the victims back and forth. That was our job, was to get the injured parties, whether they were civilians, firefighters, whoever, cops. We were to save. Our goal was to save their lives. We were to transport them and keep them alive until we got them to the hospital. But nobody came. No buses came. And I kept saying, I remember I kept saying, man, I don't know if they're going to find anybody, because it was just so surreal. And I said, that thing, the whole building just vaporized. Like, those people if the building vaporized, how can those people be there? How can those people still be alive? Anyway, long story short, that day, because I was not able, it was just, and it wasn't just me, it was everybody, but as somebody that's trained to save lives, as somebody who spent so many hours training to save others people, literally my whole training, when I was younger, when I was a firefighter, and still now, I do good things, and I try to save people. If I see an accident or something like that, I help out as best I can. But like when I was a firefighter, that was my thing. I was going to save people. Like I wasn't doing it because I wanted to be cool or for a paycheck. I did it because I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to actually save people. I wanted to. I didn't want to just talk and be like, yeah, we could be that barrier between life and death. No, I was that barrier between life and death. I've saved people's lives. I have. I'm not patting myself on the back. I'm just trying to get you to understand my perspective. So that day, it was hard for me to accept that I could not have done anything at all. And I had survivor's guilt for a very long time. And then I went through boot camp, which is a traumatic experience itself, right? And then I was in the military. And when I got out of the military, I experienced survivor's guilt again, which a lot of guys that get out, especially if there's an active time period going on and your friends are still in it, they understand what I'm talking about. But it was even worse because I still had the survivor's guilt from 9/11. And now it hit me even 10 times as hard. And it was rough. And then I did have a traumatic experience on top of it during the situation. My mother died at 55 of lung cancer. And I'll share this with you. I didn't find out she was sick until 2 weeks before she died. My family had kept it hidden from me. And because for whatever different reasons, it was idiocy, but they didn't tell me until 2 weeks before she died. And I was deployed, and I had to come home and take emergency leave to come see her and basically be with her for the last couple days of her life before she died. So that was very traumatic. The last time I saw her, she was walking around. She had long black hair. She was healthy as all could be. And the next thing, a little over a year later, she's dying, and I did not know. So that was traumatic. And then at the same time, within a few months, I was getting medically retired. And I already had one operation, and I knew I had to have others. So all this stuff was weighing down on me, and the survivor's guilt, and it compounded, and it beat me down, and it brought me into some dark places. So I understand where someone with PTS goes when they have these dark episodes and stuff. Believe me, I've been there. And it was a long road to get out of it. Unfortunately, I had no one in my life that understood what PTS was. I had no one in my life that even understood what anxiety or anything was at the time, or any of those feelings. My family didn't talk about that stuff when I was a kid. And when I was in the military, they didn't talk about that stuff, and they didn't give you psychotropic drugs. Now they dish them out like they're Pez. But they didn't talk about that stuff. When I was in, if you said you had PTS, or you even said, oh, I have a little anxiety once in a while, or this or that, they would, which is normal, but they would flip out on you, and you would be discharged and everything else. So I didn't have that support system, okay? But now there's more information out there. There's the internet. There's no excuse that you can't be that support system for somebody. Now, I got through it my own way, and it took me years to do it, but there are people that off themselves, they eat a bullet, or they OD on something because they can't handle it. And it's not just war veterans. Again, there's people that rape victims, car accidents, somebody in their life dies. I mean, I had a few year long series of traumatic things, starting with 9/11 that dealt with me. But that's my case. That's not everybody's case. Everybody's a different case. And it took me a while to get through my experiences, from just being down, the staging areas and being a first responder, and then going and helping out with the first, the Red Cross on that day, and in the days to follow, and, loading up trucks and driving supplies down there and seeing all that stuff. It weighed on me. But everybody's situation is different. Doesn't matter what the traumatic scenario is. The point is, this stuff weighed on me so hard that it put me into those dark places. So I understand where these people come from. I understand why people explode when they're pissed off. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we can all experience this. To put it in a nutshell, PTS is literally when your body, your soul, your essence, your being, you know what I'm talking about, you, not your physical body, but you, you are disconnected from your physical body and your central nervous system, which helps actually, if you understand the way it works. It's almost like the central nervous system meshes you and your physical body. And your those three key pieces are separated. And it's that traumatic event, whatever it may be, is what, let's say, broke it into three pieces. Okay? And in order to get back to yourself, you have to bring those three pieces back together, and it's not something that's easily done. Medication, pumping meds on it. Well, my kid's got PTS, so we told him to go to the VA and just listen to what the VA doctors say. Look, none of these psychiatrists, whether it's the VA or private, really know anything much about PTS. There are some people that maybe have done research, but most of them don't. The only thing they know is to throw a pill at it, okay? You need to talk to them. If you have PTS, don't lock yourself up in a room. Don't think everybody around you sucks. Look, I know if you're a vet and you come back and you think, my family doesn't understand me. Believe me, I get it. My family didn't get me. They didn't get me before I went in. They didn't get me when I came home. And then my mother was dead, and I had to deal with all that. And then she was kind of like my intermediary with them. And once she was gone, I had no one to kind of explain me to the rest of my family. I was the black sheep. So I know how you feel. Trust me, I know how you feel. But killing yourself is not the answer, okay? You can get through this. All of you, anybody that has PTS, you can get through this. I promise you. I did. And look where I am now. Now I'm doing something. You know what helped me get through it? I couldn't even look at images of 9/11. And then when I started to investigate it for myself back in like 2006, doing what I do helped me get through it in the beginning stages of when I first started doing this. And it helped me work through it. I still have survivor's guilt to this very day. I talk to Joe about it sometimes. He knows. So does Ken Webb. He knows. I've told him. They both know that I go through it. I still have survivor's guilt to this day. It's something I'll probably never get rid of, but I've managed it. I don't let it eat at me like it used to. I still wish I could have saved more people and done more stuff. Not that I saved hundreds of anybody. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying I wish I could have done more and saved people. That'll never stop. It just drives me to continue to do what I'm doing. But everybody out there can experience PTS, okay? Throwing pills at it is not the answer to stop it. Look into yoga. There's yoga classes for veterans, connected warriors. I've gone and taken some of the free classes. They're great. They're very good with veterans with PTS. It helps you get reconnected back with your body. It helps connect your essence, your central nervous system, and your physical self. in your brain, connect everything back together, and you can start to deal with it. By the way, if you've PTS, guys, you big burly Marines out there all afraid, it's okay to cry. Give your wife a hug, it's okay to cry. Hug your friend, it's okay to cry. Don't be afraid by the stigma that the mainstream and that the society itself puts on PTS, because it's just a stigma. There are people out there that understand you, who love you, and will listen. Trust me, I've been there. Ladies and gentlemen, I hoped my little rant here tonight on PTS has helped you understand, maybe just listening a little bit better. I hope it's helped you understand a little better what PTS is and helped you maybe connect. If you have it, do yoga, exercise. There's lots of other stuff that'll help you through it. You don't need big pharma meds all the time and, to lock yourself away from society. Ladies and gentlemen, do your research. Again, the solutions to our problems are most definitely an inside job. I love you all, and I am out.